In this video, 2020 is finally over. So now what? I will be perfectly honest, I am poking the bear just ever so slightly right now because I'm talking about 2020 being over, but I'm recording this still on the 31st. When you see this, it'll be the 1st, but I'm still recording it on the 31st. So, I could still get, who knows, struck by lightning. I don't know, probably not. But you just, if this video doesn't go up, you'll know why. You won't see this if this video doesn't go up. But so 2020 was a hell of a year. You were there. It's been crazy, obviously, and not just our tiny little niche of the world, our little wargaming, thing, but overall, it's had wide-ranging effects. You know this. I don't need to go on with it, but it will have effects, obviously, on our industry, on the thing that our hobby, the thing that we really like, and that will go on for a while. I'm going to start off this video just by talking about that stuff a little bit, and then at the end, I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about how 2020 was for, Tabletop Minions, how it was for the channel and that kind of stuff. And I'll also talk a little bit about the changes that I'm going to be making in 2021. So, hold on for that. So we didn't see it initially, right when all of a sudden lockdown started happening all over. Obviously, people were at home and people couldn't go to work a lot, unless you could work from home and all that kind of stuff. But we did see, obviously, slowdowns in, things getting shipped. You'd order something directly from a manufacturer who ships directly to people, and they couldn't because they couldn't make it to their warehouse, because of lockdowns. Big companies couldn't get stuff because things were sitting on the docks and the docks wouldn't let, and all these different little things. And we saw that all initially March, April, May, and it was very difficult to get things, and then it got better. And now it's starting to get worse again. And this sort of second wave that we're seeing, Games Workshop, for example, is basically having to slow down their release schedule because production can't keep up. Now, there's two issues there. Number one, production can't keep up because, again, the UK is back in lockdown. They also sold a lot more Indomitus than they thought they were going to, and then they decided that they were going to have a made-to-order sale on Indomitus, which I think also did a lot more than they thought it was going to. So when they had to basically stop producing all the stuff that we would be seeing now and next month and the next month and the next month, they had to stop production, all that, to crank out Indomitus for several months to meet up with the made-to-order. That also pushed all kinds of things down the road. So that had nothing specifically to do with COVID, but that mixed with shipping issues, mixed with stuff taking longer to get from China, mixed with all that stuff, means that we're seeing production slowing down. It will come back, I'm pretty sure. I can't necessarily see how it wouldn't, barring an asteroid or anything like that. But for now, we're going to have to be kind of content with the fact that we're going to be seeing things coming out of specifically the bigger manufacturers a little bit slower for a while. Now, there are folks out there who are saying this is a great thing because so many of the big companies, specifically Games Workshop, just keep cranking stuff out every 15 minutes, it seems like, and I can't keep up. And I've said this a bunch. I said it again recently on Twitch. You can keep up by just not buying everything. You know what I mean? Like, just because tons and tons of stuff comes out, it's unlikely that you're buying all of it. Maybe you are. You're some sort of completionist with a blank check kind of bank account. Great. But, then that's probably stressful. Gosh knows how stressful that must be. But for the rest of us, having this little bit extra time, I think helps us to get things painted and all that kind of stuff. So if there's a silver lining to just the overall production slowdowns and problems amongst not just the biggest manufacturers, but even some of the smaller manufacturers, it is something that, we can now hopefully work on the stuff that we've already got. Now, this does obviously not make the businesses happy. And I'm not even talking about being happy in like a greedy way. I'm talking about being happy and being able to pay their employees way. So I think that we're going to be seeing some companies kind of hurt by this as more of a second wave sort of, repercussion. And I think that we will possibly see some companies kind of teetering a little bit more than they had hoped to by this point in the end of the year. Now, the interesting thing is that all that to be said, hobby sales have increased. I've talked to a couple of different people at a couple of different companies, and they've all said things like, we've seen our paints and hobby tools and models sell twice as much as we did last year or more. And that's because a lot of people are obviously sitting home with not much to do. You're not going out to, the bars and the clubs. You're not going out and hanging out with your family. You're not going out and doing much of anything. So you're sitting at home. You've watched all of Netflix at this point, and now it's time to actually start painting some models. And so you're going to need some paints and some brushes and things like that. Obviously, getting it is a little difficult sometimes from your local shop. Use curbside pickup, all this stuff. You've lived through it. But the long and the short of it is that hobby sales have been up, even though now production is starting to have a hard time keeping up due to the increased, demand, and also the fact that they just can't get the supply to some degree now because of shutdowns and this and that and the other thing. But nonetheless, hobby sales have been up. So there are certain companies out there that actually are looking at this pandemic as a benefit. I mean, obviously not really a benefit, but at least on the ledgers, it's a benefit. There are plenty, and I've talked about this a bunch of times, plenty small companies out there that make the majority of their money at conventions. And those folks aren't going to conventions, which means they're not making that money. So if you know a small manufacturer who makes laser cut MDF terrain or those cool little tokens and stuff like that, if you can order from them direct on their website, you should do so, because you won't be seeing them at conventions probably for a while. And even when conventions do start up again, they may not make it through. So conventions. So I love conventions. I really love going to gaming conventions and seeing people and seeing things and doing all that kind of stuff. And the last gaming convention I went to this year was the Las Vegas Open 2020. And that was at the end of January, just before everything went all pear-shaped, you might remember. And I had a good time, and it was a lot of fun, but there have been no other conventions since then. And we're not going to see too many in 2021 either, from what I can tell. Las Vegas Open 2021 has been canceled. They announced that they were going to have it, to which I kind of was like, really? I don't know if that's going to work. And I was kind of right. So yeah, now it's not happening in Las Vegas at the end of January 2021. Adepticon has already announced that they'll not be having their convention in late March 2021. What's another one I go to? Origins, which is not specifically about wargaming, but it's more of a general tabletop gaming thing. I don't know to be perfectly honest, I haven't paid attention. I haven't seen anything announced broadly, but I don't know if they're having it. I'd heard maybe that they're pushing it back later in the year, so maybe that's what they're going to be doing. Gen Con, I don't know. It's in early August. We have a vaccine. It's taking some time, obviously, to get out to people. It's probably going to take longer than we thought, longer than we planned, the way things mostly do. I'm dubious. Currently, they have not said we're not going to be able to do it, but we'll see. Beyond that, Nova Open in DC usually takes place at the end of August, early part of September, and maybe we'll see there. There's a couple other little small conventions that I like to go to in like the October-November timeframe. Maybe they'll be able to make it, but I remember early part of 2020 thinking, all right, well, 2020 is shot, but at least we'll get to go to these conventions in 2021. And I don't know. I think that specifically here in America, we've done a pretty lousy job of trying to not spread this around as much as humanly possible. And I've stayed home. I don't know about the rest of you. I hope you have, and I hope you're staying safe. But due to all of this, we kind of get what we reap what we sow. And right now, what we have sowed is just licking all the doorknobs. And now what we're reaping is not going to conventions much, probably in 2021. So hopefully Adepticon 2022, keeping my fingers crossed. Lastly, I think one of the interesting things that we will start to see to some degree from this kind of global pandemic and how it relates to, miniatures, which is obviously not life or death, but to us, we're concerned about it. I think that we're going to start seeing some more smaller publishers who are publishing more directly to print on demand PDF. I mean, if you PDF, you make it, and literally people can have it in their hands minutes later. So it's very simple. You don't have to worry about shipping and the postal people and any of that kind of stuff. It's just boom. So I think that because the way that our particular I don't know if it works as well with board game folks. It certainly doesn't work with collectible card game folks. But us in tabletop miniatures and the people in RPGs, we're looking at a lot of books, and those books can be electronic. So I think you're going to see a lot of small companies who are like, you know what, we're going to forego the Kickstarter. We're going to forego concerning ourselves about getting a book printed in China and will it get back here and all that kind of stuff. And we're just going to crank out, PDFs and maybe some print on demand through a couple of different companies that you can get locally or, semi-locally. And then you're not sitting on a giant pile, and that pile might not just be stuck out on a boat in the middle of the ocean. You just are, when someone says, I would like a printed version of that, please, someone produces it and ships it to them. You don't get necessarily the same amount of profit, but it still will work pretty well. And with STL files, now for printing miniatures, you're going to start seeing, and you're already seeing it, you've been seeing it all year, a lot more people cranking out a lot more Patreons and different web stores and all these types of things where you can subscribe or a la carte pick and choose, get all the different models you want and either print them or have your friend who has a printer print them, that kind of stuff. I think you're going to see a lot more of that within the small space. The big folks are going to keep doing what the big folks are doing, even though it's going to take a little bit longer for these things to actually get to us, as I mentioned earlier. But I think the small folks are going to finally start to pay attention to the idea that getting stuff in people's hands is more important than getting it sometimes in stores or into big magazines or into, I don't know how I say big, I'm talking about within our industry big, but the idea of getting it in someone's hands versus, I have to go through distribution, I have to go through the normal channels to make it a real game, I think that we may see that change in 2021 and beyond. So kind of lastly, how was the year for Tabletop Minions? Well, it was not bad. It was okay. Things sort of dipped for a while in the spring, like right after, all of the lockdowns and things started to occur, because I think people were thinking about a lot of different things, obviously. And then things started to come back up in the summer. And I think that now things are kind of, it's up and down. If you think that as a YouTube channel or a Twitch channel or any kind of like content creator out there, you got yourself an Instagram, if you're looking at those graphs and you expect them to always be going up, they're not gonna. You know what I mean? Like there will be times when it'll be going the other direction. So you kind of have to take that into consideration. So it's been an up and down year as far as the key, performance indicators that I have a tendency to look at, and I understand that. I've been just trying to make as much content as I can do and also kind of keep myself a little sane. This year was the year that I jumped into Twitch as well. So if you're not following me on Twitch, you should do so. I stream on Monday evenings at 7 p.m. Central, and I also stream at Friday mornings at 10 a.m. Central. And I sit in the basement, and I've got a camera pointed down, and I work on models and do things and all that kind of stuff, and paint and talk and answer questions, and it's usually for about 3 hours on each of those. Sometimes I do some other bits. Because of the way the conventions have basically not happened this year, I've been working with the folks from Board Game Geek, and I've been doing a decent amount of virtual conventions where I'm teaching board gaming folks how to paint the miniatures that come in all their board games now, because so many Kickstarters come with so many miniatures, and a lot of times the folks that are into board gaming would like to figure out how to put those things on the table painted, and I can show them easier ways to do that. So I've been doing some of those streams as well on the off days, there aren't Mondays and Fridays usually. I've been really enjoying that process, and so I'm going to continue to keep doing it because I just like the community. I like the process of doing it, and it's caused me to honestly have a better schedule for my painting. I've painted a decent amount of stuff this year. Some of it I even got shown on Games Workshop's Twitch stream when they announced the big 9th edition box and all that kind of stuff and everything, and that was very cool. So yeah, there was some neat stuff going on. I got a lot of stuff painted this year, which I was real happy about. I'm planning on a bunch of new things. I'm planning on some changes as well. As you've seen, the thumbnail is changing. So, and I'm going to be doing some more kind of changes along those lines, like kind of, I don't want to say marketing changes, but stuff that's a little bit more cosmetic and things. I want to change some things about the way that I film, try to make some things a little bit maybe easier or different. I am thinking very strongly about leaving this studio. I'm thinking very much about moving back into the basement. There are some of you that probably think that this is my basement. It's not. It's a studio that I rent downtown up above a store, and it's frequently noisy, which I think you've probably come across before in some of my videos. So I'm thinking about moving back to the basement, possibly in the spring. It'll be cheaper. It will be potentially easier. I won't have to bring my stuff here. I don't like to leave too much here. I don't leave any cameras or anything along those lines, so I always have to lug those back and forth. I'm trying to figure that kind of stuff out. I want to up the merch a little bit. I want to make a little bit more merch. I've been kind of lax in that. 2020 has been a year where, frankly, I feel as if I've probably been a little bit more lax, if anything. and I want to try to fix that. It's a bummer number, man. You know, I mean, 2020 did not work out for most people. And even though I was still working my day job, working from home, and I was grateful for that, and I was still able to do this stuff and you know, communicate with you folks through the Patreon, Discord, or through just, you know, the chat, the stuff, and the every other Sunday show and Twitch and all those things, it's still real lonely. It's still a bummer not kind of going out and seeing people, going to conventions, just even going to see my friends around town. You know, you get on the phone with them from time to time or on a Discord chat or Skype or something like that, but it's been difficult. So I want to hopefully not have to do so much self-care, you know, and I want to be able to maybe work a little harder. I don't want to go crazy, but I do kind of want to work a little bit harder on the channel to make things a bit different and hopefully a little bit better for you as the viewers and the people who basically help make all this possible. So, you know, it's pretty obvious, but man, I hope 2021 is a better year than the last one. You know, gosh, I hope it is. It's got to be. I really do hope so. So I hope you've had an okay year. I hope you've had a good year, actually. But if you didn't, and you probably didn't, I hope that the next one is better. And I hope that you've hopefully found a hobby that you can use to relieve stress and to be a little bit more meditative and to make it so that you can deal with the kind of, you know, not getting to go out and do things, not going to see people, not going to see family as much and stuff like that. And I hope that this is in some way helped with that kind of stuff. So yeah, I didn't, this is a New Year's video, but for Christmas I didn't ask for anything really. But if you're interested, or if you a subscribe, one of those things, you could put that down there. I don't ask for it too frequently, but that would be sort of a nice little end of the year present, let's say. So, or beginning of the next year present, either way. Again, I want to thank everyone for coming by and watching, and let's have a happy 2021. 1, 2, 3, folks.